This is it, the grand finale. For 9 episodes, you've been the customer, walking into other people's restaurants and ordering from their menus. Today, you flip it around. Today, you open your own restaurant. Today, you build your very own API. And I promise, it's far simpler than it sounds. Welcome back to ShadhinPath. This is episode 10, the final episode of our beginner API course. Let's finish strong. So, what does building an API actually mean? Think all the way back to episode 1. An app is the customer, the server is the kitchen, and the API is the waiter carrying orders back and forth. Until now, you've been the customer. When you build an API, you become the restaurant owner. You set up the kitchen and the waiter so that now other apps can come and order from you. And here's the good news. Every API you ever built needs just 3 simple things. Once you see them, it stops being scary. Number 1, the data. This is what you're serving, your menu. It could be a list of products, jokes, students, anything. It's simply the information your API will hand out. Number 2, the endpoints. Remember these from episode 4? These are your menu items, the specific addresses people can order from. Like /jokes to get a joke, or /products to get your product list. You decide what's on the menu. Number 3, a server that's running. This is your restaurant being open for business. As long as your server is on, it sits there listening, waiting for requests to arrive. When one comes in, it springs into action, prepares the response, and sends it back. Turn the server off, and the restaurant is closed. That's the whole concept. Data to serve, endpoints to serve it from, and a running server to keep the doors open. Every API in the world, from a tiny hobby project to Facebook, is built on these exact same 3 pieces. Now, you might be thinking, okay, but do I need to be some genius programmer to actually make this? Not at all. In the next part, I'll show you the simple ingredients you need and just how little code it really takes to bring your first API to life. So we know an API needs 3 things: data, endpoints, and a running server. Now let's talk about the ingredients you actually use to make them. And there are really just 2, a programming language and a framework. Let me explain both in plain English, because once you get this, the whole thing opens up. First, the language. This is simply the language you write your instructions in, so the computer understands you. There are many, but for building APIs, 2 are by far the most beginner-friendly and the most popular. The first is Python. It reads almost like plain English, which is why total beginners love it. The second is JavaScript, the language of the web. Honestly, you can't go wrong with either. If you're brand new and just want the gentlest start, I'd point you to Python. Now the second ingredient, and this is the one that changes everything for a beginner, the framework. The word sounds intimidating, but the idea is beautiful. Let me give you a picture. Imagine you want to open a restaurant. You could build everything from scratch, weld your own oven, install the plumbing, wire the electricity, construct the sink. That would take you years, and you haven't even cooked a single meal yet. Or you could rent a kitchen that's already fully built, with the oven, stove, and sink all ready to go. You just walk in and start cooking. That ready-made kitchen is a framework. A framework is a collection of pre-written code that handles all the hard, boring plumbing of an API for you. Things like listening for incoming requests, understanding them, and packaging up responses. It does the heavy lifting, so you only write the small, fun part. What your API should actually say when someone asks. And here are the 2 famous ready-made kitchens. For Python, the most beginner-friendly framework is called Flask. It's tiny, gentle, and perfect for your first API. For JavaScript, the most popular one is called Express. Both are completely free. Both are used by real companies, and both can get a working API running incredibly fast. Here's the part that surprises people the most. With a framework like Flask, your very first working API, a real one that sends back data, can be written in about 5 lines of code. 5 lines, not 500. That's the magic of standing on top of a framework instead of building from the ground up. So that's your shopping list. Pick a language. Python is a lovely start, and grab its framework, Flask. That's literally all you need installed to begin. In the next part, we'll actually walk through those few lines together, step by step, and I'll explain every single one in plain English, No memorizing, just understanding. All right, this is the moment we build it. We're going to make a tiny but real API that serves up jokes, and I'm going to walk you through every line in plain English. Don't try to memorize anything, just follow the story. You'll be surprised how much sense it makes. Line 1, we write from Flask, import Flask. In simple terms, this just says, bring in that ready-made kitchen we talked about, the Flask framework, so I can use it. You're grabbing your tools off the shelf. That's all. Line 2, we write app equals Flask. Here we're switching on the kitchen and giving it a name, app. From now on, whenever we say app, we mean our little application. Think of it as flipping the lights on in your new restaurant. Next, our data, the menu. We make a simple list called jokes, and inside it, we put a joke or two, like, why do programmers prefer dark mode? Because light attracts bugs. This is the information our API will serve. In a bigger app, this data might come from a database, but a simple list works perfectly to start. Now, the most important part, the endpoint. We write a line that says, at the address, /jokes, do the following. In Flask, that's the @ app.route with /jokes in quotes. This is you putting an item on the menu. You're telling your restaurant, when someone comes to the /jokes door, here's what to do, and what do we do? Right below it, we write a small function. Think of it as the kitchen's recipe for that order. Our recipe is one line. Return the jokes as JSON. Remember JSON from episode 5? Flask has a helper that automatically wraps our list in clean JSON for us. So when someone visits /jokes, the kitchen grabs the joke list, packages it as JSON, and hands it back. And the final line, app.run. This is the big one. It opens the restaurant. It starts your server and tells it to sit and listen for requests. The doors are now open for business. And that's the entire API. Let me say that again so it sinks in. You imported the framework, switched it on, made a little list of data, created one endpoint called /jokes, wrote a one-line recipe to return that data as JSON, and started the server. That is a complete working API, and it's maybe 7 lines long. Every concept from this whole course is sitting right there in those few lines. An endpoint, a GET request, a JSON response, a server. You're not just copying code. You understand what every piece is doing. In the next part, we'll actually turn it on and watch it work. We've written our little Jenks API. Now comes the best moment in this entire course, turning it on and watching your very own creation come to life. Trust me, the first time you see this work, you get goosebumps. So you run your file. The moment you do, your computer prints a message that says something like running on localhost, port 5000. Now, that word might be new, so let me make it simple. Localhost just means this very computer, right here. And port 5000 is like the specific door number your restaurant is sitting behind. Put together, your API is now open for business at the address localhost:5000. Now, remember episode 9, where we used the browser and Postman to call other people's APIs. Here's the beautiful full circle moment. We're going to use those exact same tools, but this time to call your own API. Open your browser and type localhost:5000/jokes. Hit enter. And there it is, your joke served back to you as clean JSON, straight from a server you built, running on your machine. Take a second with that. You are now both the customer and the restaurant. You made the waiter, the kitchen, and the menu, and it works. That feeling right there, that's the feeling that turns curious beginners into real developers. Hold on to it. Now let's make it a little richer, because a real menu has more than one item. Adding a second endpoint is just repeating the pattern. You write another app.route, maybe for /hello, and below it a tiny recipe that returns a friendly greeting. Save, restart, and now you have 2 endpoints, /jokes and /hello. You can keep adding as many as you like. Each one is just another item on your menu. And what if you want people to send you data, not just read it? Remember Post from episode 3 for creating things? You simply tell that route to accept post requests and write a recipe that takes the incoming data, say a new joke someone submits, and adds it to your list. Now your API can not only give data out, but also take new data in. That right there is the heart of almost every app you use. Look at what just happened. You built an API, opened it, called it with the tools from last episode, added more endpoints, and even let people send data in. You didn't just learn what an API is. You became someone who can build one. In the next part, let's talk about taking this from your computer out into the real world. So your API works beautifully, but right now it only works on your computer at localhost. Your friend in another city can't reach it. So let's talk about taking it from your machine out into the real world and then polishing it so it looks professional. First, getting it online. Remember, localhost means this computer only. To let the whole world use your API, you need to put it on a server that's always on, somewhere on the internet. This is called hosting or deploying. The good news? There are free, beginner-friendly platforms made exactly for this. Names you'll hear are Render, Railway, and Python Anywhere. You upload your code, they run it on an always-on server, and they give you a real web address, something like yourapp.onrender.com. The moment that happens, your little jokes API is live, and anyone on Earth can call it. That is a genuinely magical feeling. Now let's sprinkle in everything else this course taught you, because this is where it all comes together. Your API isn't just code anymore. It's a chance to use every concept you've learned. Status codes from episode 6. A polished API doesn't just send data. When something's missing, it sends back a clean 404. When a request is bad, a 400. When all is well, a 200. You now know exactly what those mean, so you can make your API speak that language properly. Authentication from episode 7. Right now, anyone can call your API. But what if some data should be private? You add an API key or a token check. Exactly the hotel keycard idea. Your API looks at the key and only then lets the request through. You're no longer just using authentication. You're building it. And good design from episodes 3 and 4. Real developers name their endpoints clearly, /jokes, /users, /products, and use the right methods. Get to read, post to create, delete to remove. Clean, predictable, professional. The kind of API other developers actually enjoy using. Do you see what's happening here? Every single episode of this course wasn't a random fact. It was a building block. And now, on the very last episode, you're stacking all of them together to build something real, something yours, something the whole world can reach. You started this series not knowing what the letters API even stood for. And now you can build one, host it, secure it, and design it well. In the next part, let's take a moment to look back at just how far you've actually come. Before we finish, I want to do something special. Let's take a slow walk back through this entire journey, all 10 episodes, so you can actually feel how much you've learned. Because when you're in the middle of learning, you rarely notice your own progress. So let's notice it together. In episode 1, you met your very first idea. An API is like a waiter, carrying your order to the kitchen and bringing the food back. Simple, friendly, and suddenly that scary 3-letter word made sense. In episode 2, you looked under the hood and saw the heartbeat of it all. The request and response. The client asks, the server answers. One simple cycle that runs the entire internet. In episode 3, you learned the 4 magic words: get, post, put, and delete. Read, create, update, delete. The 4 things every app on Earth is really doing. In episode 4, you cracked the code of endpoints and URLs. How every API is just a building with rooms, and how to read any web address like a map. In episode 5, you finally understood JSON, the simple language of keys and values that APIs use to talk. Suddenly, that wall of text wasn't scary anymore. You could read it. In episode 6, you decoded the secret numbers, status codes. 200 means good, 404 means not found, 500 means the server slipped. You learned to read what the server is really telling you. In episode 7, you unlocked authentication, the hotel ID and key card, who you are and what you're allowed to do. You even settled the great 401 versus 403 debate. In episode 8, you explored the different types of APIs: REST, GraphQL, SOAP, and WebSocket. and learned there's no single best one, just the right tool for the job. In episode 9, you stopped watching and started doing. You made your first real API call with nothing but a browser and Postman. Real, live data on your screen. And here in episode 10, you close the loop completely. You learn to build your very own API, run it, secure it, and send it out into the world. Stop and really look at that list. 10 steps, each one small and simple on its own. But stacked together, you went from I have no idea what an API is to I can build and launch one myself. That is not a small thing. That is a genuine real-world skill that companies pay good money for. And you did it one clear step at a time, exactly the way we promised at the very beginning. In the final part, let's talk about where you go from here. So here we are at the very end. And before you go, I want to talk to you just for a moment. Not about code, but about you. When you clicked on episode 1, maybe you felt that quiet fear so many beginners feel. That heavy little voice that whispers, this tech stuff is too hard. It's not for someone like me. Everyone else just gets it, and I never will. I want you to hear this clearly and slowly. You just proved that voice completely wrong. You showed up, episode after episode, and you understood every single piece. That fear was never the truth about you. It was just a feeling, and you walked straight through it. You are absolutely capable of this. Now here is the honest part. Knowledge fades fast if you never use it. So I'm going to give you a mission. And I'm asking you, please, actually do it. This week, not someday, this week, build one tiny API, anything at all. An API that returns your 3 favorite movies, a list of your goals, a few quillets that inspire you. It does not need to be big, and it does not need to impress anyone. It just needs to be yours. Because the moment you build something with your own 2 hands, this stops being a video you watched and quietly becomes a skill you actually own. And then take that little project and put it on GitHub. Show it on your resume. Talk about it in your interviews. Because here is the real truth about why this matters. APIs are everywhere in tech. And the ability to understand, use, and build them is exactly the kind of skill that gets ordinary people hired for real jobs, remote jobs, jobs that can genuinely change your life and your family's future. You are not learning this for fun. You are quietly building a door to a better future, one small skill at a time. And that has always been the heart of ShadhinPath, taking the hard, gate-kept things and making them simple and human for people who were never handed an easy way in. If this series helped you even a little, there are 2 things that mean the world. First, subscribe, so you're right here for the next series we build together. And second, share this course with just one person who's struggling to break into tech. You might genuinely change the direction of their life. Drop a comment and tell me, which episode finally made it all click for you? And what is the very first API you're going to build? I read every comment, and I can't wait to see what you create. From the bottom of my heart, thank you. Thank you for your time, your attention, and your trust across all 10 episodes. Learners like you are the reason this channel exists. This is not goodbye. It's just the end of the beginning. You walked in not even knowing what the letters API stood for, and you're walking out as someone who can build one. So go build, keep learning, and never let that old fear tell you what you can't do. I'll see you in the very next video. This is ShadhinPath. Take care and keep walking your own path.